All right, hey class. So welcome to the week 10 recap of the troubleshooting, the WAN troubleshooting discussion. So our scenario for this discussion was you work for a college system that uses a private IP range and that has multiple subnets or VLANs that segment the network for various functions. DHCP is used for most of the subnets, including the one that is meant for the students. At the end of every semester, the nursing department holds certification testing. These tests are proctored and the browsers are locked, so students can't search the internet for the answers. The laptops that the students use have been properly configured and the program has been downloaded for the testing purposes. All seems to be working and is set up. However, the company that provides the certification testing has a policy that matches the IP address of the client computer to a pre-configured list of allowed testing stations. A week before the testing starts, you're called by the nursing department chair, relaying that the testing company has asked for those IP addresses of the computers that will be connecting to the website to put on their whitelist. So actually, this is a very real scenario. Here's the graphic layout, the logical layout. You have your computers. There's their private IP range. They go through a firewall, which in this case has the public IP address. It's the forward-facing IP address. And of course, it connects to the internet and goes to the CERT nursing test site on the cloud. So that's the scenario. All right, so the questions. What would happen if you just gave the testing company the IP addresses of the computers? In other words, what if you gave them the 10.10.20.1 range and said, okay, well, here are the IP addresses? There would be a problem because that's private range and they wouldn't see that. They wouldn't see those IP addresses connecting to their computers initially. They're going to need two things. They're going to need the NAT, which is the forward-facing, the public-facing IP address, the 181.25.15.25. They'll need that first because that's the IP address the system will see initially. Once the initial connection, the session has been made, then the lockdown browser, the program that actually locks the computer and brings up the tests and so forth, may do a system check to where it says, okay, checking the system, making sure that there's nothing running in the background, that there shouldn't be. Some places don't allow remote access type programs, including RDP, to be used. So sometimes those lockdown browsers, Pearson VUE is notorious for this, sometimes those lockdown browsers will actually scan the computer to check for compliance. Usually, in that type of testing environment, speaking from personal experience, let's say Pearson VUE, they tell you how they want the computers set up. And so those computers are almost bare bones when it comes to the operating system and software installed. They really don't want anything on there that might be used for cheating. So sometimes that lockdown browser will scan the computer, get that information, and then also get the IP address of the computer in order to compare it to their whitelist. So this company may need both IP addresses, the forward-facing and then the private IP range. And that's what we've had to do in the past, to where you go, okay, well, all of our computers reside on a private network, but we do have a NAT. And so here's the NAT IP, and this is going to be the private range. So if your system checks for both, and in this particular situation, we've had that happen to where their system checked for both. It set up the session with the forward-facing IP that was allowed access to the computer. Once the computer connected, created that session, the browser checked the computer and got that information as well. So they had to create a whitelist, the company did, with the NAT and the private range. So do you see a problem with giving the computer IP addresses to the remote testing company? In this situation, no, especially if it's a reputable company. And in this case, it's going to be a state organization. It's not like it's going to be, some backroom testing center. Oh yeah, we'll give you a certification. All we need is your, social security number and all that kind of stuff. This is going to be a reputable place. And so On that side, no, there's no problem with giving the private IP range. You really can't do anything anyway. And you know, the forward-facing, the NAT, is what they're going to need for the initial connection. Third question, how would you respond to that request and work through those issues? So again, the first thing you would do would be to ask questions. Okay, well, can you clarify a little bit for me, because we have a private IP range. What exactly do you need? Because you're getting this information third hand. The Nursing Testing Center, the State Certified Nursing Testing Center, is contacting the department chair and saying, hey, this is what we need. The department chair has no idea how to set up this stuff. He doesn't work in IT, or she doesn't work in IT. And so it's like, you know, they come to you and go, I don't know, this is what we're being told. And sometimes, unfortunately, you get that on the day of testing, because you've been given a set of parameters, you set everything up, it's all good to go, it's even been tested. Then on testing day, the company's like, well, hey, we don't have a whitelist of these computers. And so they run to you panicked, going, well, what do we do? And it's like, well, in that type of situation, you do the best you can. Always fall back to policy and procedure. What are the policies regarding some of this stuff? What are the guidelines? What are the procedures? Ask questions of the testing company. Hey, you know, what exactly do you want? And who are you? You know, if that needs to be clarified, make sure that you're talking to somebody reputable. And, you know, really get that information so it's between you and, let's say, the testing company. And if they have documentation and all sorts of stuff, that would make it even better. So a lot of times it's just a matter of clarifying what's needed and then providing some basic information. And that's how this situation would be solved. All right, so if you have any questions, any thoughts, concerns, let me know.